I've been trying to get my friends to play Strinova for the past few months, but none of them wanted to give their personal information to the Chinese government just to play on 250 ping. Luckily, with another beta test around the corner, I can finally play with them. Only problem is, none of them know how to play the game. So I made this video to explain it to them and the rest of the community, so everyone can start stringing it all over the... So what is Strinova? You've probably heard it called a combination of Valorant, Paper Mario, Overwatch, and a bunch of other games, but what is it really? Strinova is an anime-style third-person hero-based tactical competitive shooter. That's a lot, but similar to the likes of CS or Valorant, one side defends bomb sites and the other tries to plant the bomb. Each character, or superstring as they're called, have different abilities and strengths that make each one excel in different scenarios. Some characters have scans that reveal the enemy, some have blinds, one has TED, and one has Catgirl sim turrets. What sets this game apart from other games, though, is its unique paper mechanic. When up against flat walls, you can turn into paper to start climbing on the wall. It's sort of like a link between worlds. But you can also turn into paper anywhere, whether it's on the ground or in the air. Paper is extremely useful since it makes your body super thin and much more difficult to hit. This makes some gunfights, well...
We win! We win!
No, actually, we won the round.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Nah, he's crazy. No.
Another thing Strinova does differently is knocks. Instead of dying immediately when you run out of HP, you'll get knocked into an interesting position. A timer then starts, and if you aren't revived by a teammate within that timer, you'll die. But good luck getting your teammates to help. Another thing Strinova does differently is giving its sandbox of weapons, grenades, and unique character abilities to its players straight out of the gate. Strinova's weapons, grenades, and abilities are all granted at the start of each round as opposed to being locked behind an in-game shop. Instead, the shop is used to buy superstring upgrades, but we'll go over the shop in more depth later in this guide. It's also important to note that primary weapons are locked to specific characters, meaning that if you want to use a sniper, you'll have to select a character that has a sniper, such as Konami or Coconut. If you want to use a shotgun, you'll have to select Ica or Labimo James, and so on. In Strinova, superstrings currently belong to one of three factions. Those belonging to the PUS, such as Michelle, Yvette, and Nobu, fill the role of defenders and can only be played on defense, while those such as Ming and Luin belong to the Scissors and can only be played on attack. The third faction, named the Urbino, can be played on either side. This sounds limiting at first glance, but it actually makes sense. Those locked to defense have kits centered around holding chokes or punishing enemy pushes, and the same goes for attackers whose kits are oriented towards cutting off sightlines, area denial, and info gathering. The Urbino characters' kits are more generalistic, allowing enough flexibility to be proficient at attacking and defending. Each character has an ultimate ability, allowing for some to make a play or to turn the tide in a fight. Some ults can be used to deny an entire part of the map, while others are extremely powerful tools for pushing an area. Ults cost a certain number of ult points. Points charge in multiple ways, either at the end of each round, planting and defusing the bomb, or getting a limbs. You can see the current charge status of both your team's ults and the enemies on the scoreboard. This is really useful information, as you can predict which ults the enemy will use and plan accordingly. For example, if you know they have a Michelle ult, you may push the point she isn't holding, try to kill her before she uses it, or try to bait her to use it poorly. Before we get ahead of ourselves, let's discuss the different modes Strinova has. First of all, there's a lot. There's Scrimmage, which is a team deathmatch mode with multiple teams of 3 where the map slowly shrinks. Next up is Escort, where you either push or prevent a payload from reaching certain objectives depending on which side you're on. This one comes with totally unique maps that may or may not share very slight similarities with maps found in other games.
Leave me alone!
But realistically, the one that matters most, as it's the main game mode of Strinova and the only one with a ranked mode, is Demolition. Demolition is the standard tactical shooter bomb defusal mode, so your CSGO, your Valorant, your As most of you are probably familiar with this formula, we'll try to cover this as quickly as possible. In short, attackers want to either eliminate the defenders or set off the bomb. Defenders want to either eliminate the attackers or defuse the bomb. In the unrated mode, the game is best of 8, while ranked is best of 16. You can draw in both game modes, with unrated automatically drawing once both teams win 4 rounds. Ranked works a bit differently though, with the draw going to a vote, requiring 6 out of 10 players to successfully draw. If players deny the draw, the game will go into overtime, with teams taking turns attacking and defending until one of the teams wins 2 rounds in a row. Every 2 rounds, players will be prompted to draw, each subsequent prompt requiring less and less players to draw. The ranking system is very similar to other games, with each player being assigned a rank and division. So, all the beginners down in Iron 3 can make it up to Iron 1 with a little experience, then onto each rank afterward. Their journey would start in Iron, then Bronze, Silver, Gold, Plat, Diamond, Master, Super String, and finally Singularity. Singularity is the Radiant or Challenger equivalent, with only the top 500 players having the rank. Strinova has a buy menu similar to other tac shooters, but like we mentioned before, it functions a little differently from the others. Instead of buying weapons and utility, you buy upgrades to your gun, abilities, and super string. When buying upgrades from the shop, they're separated into 3 categories. Yellow ones, which upgrade abilities or passives specific to your character, green ones, which upgrade super string stats, such as having a regenerating shield or increase movement speed when papered, and lastly, blue ones, which can upgrade different attributes of your gun, such as mag size, reload speed, headshot damage, scope zoom, and so on. You can buy up to 2 yellow, 2 green, and 4 blue upgrades, with each upgrade slot making the player choose between one of 2 effects. This allows for some variation between builds and playstyles between players. An important thing to know is that after losing a round, you're able to sell up to 1 upgrade that was previously purchased and get an 100% refund. Selling subsequent purchases or selling when you've won the previous round will only get you 50% of what you've spent. While this may seem simple enough, Strinova takes this upgrade system another step further, allowing for specific color combinations of upgrades to either buff or change the mechanics of a character's kit. We call these character Ascensions. For every super string, each has 3 unique Ascensions. Players are able to use up to 2 at a time, with Ascension 1 always filling one of those 2 slots, and the second slot chosen by the player between Ascension 2 or Ascension 3. It's good to note that you can see both enemy and ally Ascensions by opening the scoreboard, making it vital that you learn every character's Ascensions. Besides the super string you've decided to lock into play, the choice of secondary weapon and grenades are up to you. For grenades, there are currently 8 in the game. First off, the frag grenade, which is a frag grenade. It deals up to 100 damage, but can damage multiple enemies. I'd recommend holding these for when enemies are clumped up in a corner, or when finishing down targets that are hiding behind walls or cover. Secondly, the flash grenade, which is so powerful it can send your enemies to the hospital room. Its effect on the one who receives it is more than just memorable. Like, why does it have impact frames? Regardless, this nade is pretty self-explanatory. Something to note though is that this nade is based on both line of sight and proximity to the target. The closer the flash, the longer the duration and harsher the effect. I found this made it pretty tricky to use consistently due to people simply going into paper mode, but that doesn't mean it's not without its uses. Continuing on, the alarm nade can be deployed to notify you when an enemy has walked near it. This notification can only be seen by you and can also be seen through walls, making it a pretty good early warning system when defending. Keep in mind that enemies can destroy the alarm before it goes off. Next up, the wind bomb deploys a tornado that launches enemies up, forcing them into paper mode, great for denying enemy pushes into chokes with ceilings. This grenade can also be used for pretty creative rotations, so keep a lookout for any potential uses. The smoke grenade, which deploys a small area of smoke that blocks vision. Perfect for blocking LOS for rotations, or to pick up your down teammate. Keep in mind, many of the casts have abilities that can scan you through the smoke, revealing your position of them or the entire enemy team. Smokes are very useful nades, but they definitely don't block bullets. An ink grenade, which coats the floor and walls nearby, slowing enemy movement speed and also completely restricting their ability to enter paper mode. This nade works especially well when used to disrupt an enemy rotation or to zone off an area. A heal grenade, which explodes, leaving behind a healing field, applying a regenerative effect to anyone who passes through. Note that the healing grenade does not heal you more the longer you're in it. It will heal you the same regardless, as long as you manage to touch it. It's usually a good idea to throw it on at least yourself and a teammate so they get the regenerative effect, even if they're full HP, since the effect lingers for a few seconds, possibly healing them if they happen to take damage shortly after you throw it. Lastly is the Interceptor, doing exactly what you think it does, intercepting grenades. When thrown down, the Interceptor deploys a yellow field and a sphere around it, blocking any enemy inbound and outbound nades. This utility is perfect for both pushing and holding chokes, as it blocks incoming nades when defending a position and stops your team from getting nade spammed when pushing a choke point. Be mindful of where you throw it though, as it can be destroyed by enemy bullets or abilities. When defending against attackers that use their interceptors to push choke points, I'd recommend throwing nades like the wind and ink nade at your feet. That way, if you happen to be inside the sphere, you don't accidentally try to throw it outside the sphere, and vice versa. This generally lowers the chances of your utility getting deleted by the interceptor. Another choice you'll have to make is your choice of secondary weapons. Luckily, there are a variety of choices to choose from, with each offering different advantages and disadvantages. We'll briefly go over them here. Starting off, you can rock a standard machine pistol, basically an SMG, which does decent damage and is good for finishing off fights when you run out of bullets in your primary. A deagle, which is like a deagle from other games, but notably cannot one-shot or do insane damage. A sawed-off shotgun, which is perfect for doing insane point-blank burst damage, but it's balanced out with a 3-shot mag followed by a longer reload time. A sword that enables melee combat and does extra damage to those in paper. Lastly, a flamethrower, which also does bonus damage to those in paper mode, but is really only good for cosplaying the Pyro from TF2. Strinova has a pretty unique mix of aim mechanics. For starters, it has 3 different modes of aiming: hipfire, shoulder fire, and ADS, with each subsequent mode gaining more precision but at the cost of a higher and higher movement penalty. A small tip regarding the different modes is that hipfire accuracy upgrade that many characters have access to also buffs the shoulder fire mode. Also, shoulder fire is just really good regardless, so this upgrade really just pushes it further. Make sure to utilize your map as best you can. It lets you know what information your teammates have without them telling you themselves. You'll be able to act accordingly to enemy positioning, rotations, or even be able to support your own team when they're in a gunfight. The map can also be configured in the settings, with the minimap size controlling how much of your screen it takes up, and the minimap zoom controlling how much of the map is actually shown. There are also settings that toggle if the minimap is centered around you, and if the minimap rotates according to the direction you're facing. You can also open the map using M, which will show the entire map. I recommend finding out which minimap setting combinations work best for you, as everyone has their own unique preferences. To finish off the guide, we'll be covering some general tips to help you out with movement, paper mode, and gunfights. To start out with, a technique called paper shooting can be utilized on weapons that are semi-automatic, allowing you to become paper in between each shot, making you a much harder target to hit. The hold to paper setting simplifies this, as all you need to do when this is enabled is hold down your paper hotkey and then shoot. It will automatically put you back into paper between shots when using a semi-automatic weapon. Paper shooting can be achieved on automatic weapons by either tap or burst firing, but its effect is quite a bit different when compared to a semi-automatic one. Another way to utilize paper mode is to use it when reloading. This will make you a smaller target when you're forced to reload in the enemy's line of sight, or stop you from being killed after you whiff your entire first clip.
You killed her. You're better.
Yeah!
When reloading, it's also important to note that wall sticking and gliding will cancel your reload. You can also see your reload progress next to your crosshair, presenting itself as a red progress bar that fills up and changes to white once your gun is reloaded. When being slowed, healed, scanned, or when under any debuff or buff, you can see the duration and name of each in the bottom left next to your health bar. While paper may be the main movement mechanic in Strinova, abusing the double jumping mechanic can give you an edge in close gunfights. By repressing your jump key in midair, you can double jump. This double jump keeps the momentum you have before you use it, but you're able to control the direction you rebound towards. It's perfect for close encounters where it makes you a difficult target to hit, but also makes the aim penalty inconsequential. It can also enable you to quickly fire a few shots past a corner before returning you to the safety of cover. And that wraps it up for our Strinova's beginner guide. I hope this helps all of you understand what Strinova's all about, and possibly helps you from being bottom of the leaderboard. With the beta releasing this week, I hope to see you all there. Thanks for watching, but you really should have been watching for the flanking bimo.
Dash!